show is made possible with the support of the Royal Partners.
Hello, my friends, and thank you for spending just a few moments with us here on this program. The rains have let up for the time being, and it's actually not that bad out here today. But don't worry, the cold, doom, and gloom will return. In fact, it's already kind of dark out here today, and I'm starting to feel a few sprinkles, so perhaps we should just get on with it. And on this program, we are going to cover gambling news from Brazil, India, and a few other markets I've been neglecting for the past few weeks, which I thought would be a refreshing change from the cold, dark gloom of the United Kingdom. But don't worry, that too shall return. So let's begin down in South America with a market many affiliates are very excited about, and that is Brazil, as they try to navigate the pains and the processes of growing a regulated gambling market down there. And part of that is the launch of their player self-exclusion system. New rules for that system were recently published by their Secretary of Prizes and Bets, and it should be operational by the end of this year. Brazilian regulators have emphasized that getting this self-exclusion scheme in place was their most important priority on their agenda. However, just like so many other jurisdictions around the world, the powers that be down there just can't stop themselves. They just can't resist the temptation to pick more fruit from their newfound money tree by trying to raise taxes from the current 12%, maybe back to the original 18%, or perhaps even as high as 24%. But that bill was pulled down by their Chamber of Duty president just before it was set to be voted on. Why? Not because he's some good guy trying to prevent a tax hike, but because he believes the bill had no support and would ultimately fail. But make no mistake about it, the government of Brazil wants to raise taxes, and at some point they will. At least one iGaming expert in Brazil said that to raise taxes at this point would be insane. His words, not mine, because I would have used much harsher language, as you know. And while I've been saying that other governments and jurisdictions are perhaps copying the United Kingdom down this road to hell, what if that's not correct? What if they're not following? What if all of them are just, corrupt and greedy? Come to think of it, that would make more sense. Welcome back. On our October 10th show from the Global Gaming Expo in Las Vegas, we told you about what was going on with the Indian online gambling market. At least we thought that's what we were doing, because if I'm being honest, I'm not quite sure what the hell is going on in India right now. I mean, the industry was thriving there. Then the government stepped in and banned all real money web-based games in late August. However, on October 6th, it was reported that the country had drafted new rules to regulate internet games for real money. Since then, it's been sort of quiet, until I found this article, which discusses how India passed the ban but has yet to enforce it. and says nothing about the drafted regulations for real money online gambling proposed in October. So, what gives? I can honestly say I have no clue, but it appears that there is no intention at this point to lift that initial ban or to regulate our industry there, resulting in an asset value loss of $840 million, about 7,000 people losing their jobs, and Indian players moving to offshore black market sites. Operators there had warned the Indian government that this would happen, but the government thought that the threat of the black market was overstated. Lastly, a few stories I've been trying to cover for several weeks now, but the UK Gambling Commission kept getting their fat ass in the way. First, Denmark has warned operators and broadcasters there of new advertising restrictions for gambling rolling out over the next year, with full implementation by 2027. In Mexico, meanwhile, they have introduced a bill to overhaul their Federal Gambling and Lotteries Act from 1947 to include online betting. And since I've never covered a story from Mexico on this program before, I can write that off my bucket list. And speaking of countries I've never talked about on this program, Trinidad and Tobago are threatening operators there, black market operators that is, with harsher penalties and fines of up to $440,000 and even 7 years in prison. To which I say to Trinidad and Tobago, yeah, good luck with that. Those operators aren't afraid of America. They're not afraid of Britain. I doubt seriously they're gonna be afraid of you. So that's another wrap on another week. I'll come back next week and do it again. And hey, next week is American Thanksgiving, so the next time you see me, I might be bigger and fatter. You know, American. God willing. It was reported that the country had drafted new rules to regulate
It's okay. Just one more blooper.
I didn't realize it was you. That's why I was a little aggressive coming up.
Oh, no.